This is the Be Helpful Podcast, where conversations with budding entrepreneurs prepare you for the wild journey of building a business or side hustle. When we had our prep call, we wanted to talk about patience and perseverance. And I'd love to hear in your journey, not only with Black Menswear, but excuse me, but also in your freelancing career. What role did patience have on your journey? And honestly, was it really hard to be patient at times?
No, I think that kind of goes back to kind of what we were discussing earlier in terms of being like, this is working. So my mantra for this year is pushing P all 2023. So that's peace, patience, perseverance, and prosperity. So, and as you're building a business, you have to have perseverance. That perseverance goes back to what I was saying earlier in terms of being pleasantly persistent. No doesn't mean never. Knowing how to follow up, realizing that you might think you're ready, but that client might realize that you're actually not ready. Not that you're not capable of doing the work, but you might not have the infrastructure as an organization to service their needs from a customer service standpoint that they're accustomed to. It doesn't mean that the output itself is not what they require, but the customer service, like if you're looking at it from our standpoint, our team has 8 people. If you're used to working with an organization that has 300 people, your whole staff that you're going to get for the client that we might win, like a Taco Bell or a Ruffles or an Infinity, might be 15 people. So we have to show that even though we might not be operating at scale, we can execute at scale.
Yeah.
So that's the perseverance. With that, that goes back into being patient. Being patient in terms of what we discussed earlier in terms of that no doesn't mean never towards like that small win on that proposal, right?
Yeah.
That patience of, okay, yeah, while we didn't win this one, that proposal was strong. And then you never know, 3 months now, hey, here's his check.
Yeah.
Hey, I got your email from so-and-so. They were recommending me to you. I had a woman telling me today, hey, do you know so-and-so from Dentsu? I'm like, nah, but she's like, I just sent them over your Cape Stack. I didn't ask her to do that. She chose to do that, right?
Yeah.
That's patience. So patience kind of goes with the perseverance. If once you have the patience and the perseverance, that's how you can be at peace.
Yeah.
And then when you're at peace, that's when it's like, okay, that's when you're like, okay, every day's a win. I'm just brick by brick, going with the end goal, going with the end game. And then if you maintain that, then you know the prosperity is going to come.
Yeah.
So that's why I say peace, patience, perseverance, and prosperity are the 4 things that I focus on this year. Is because if you maintain all of those things, that allows you to kind of be able to continue to grow and focusing on scaling your business.
Dude, I love that. No, I love that. And I'm gonna have to go back to the recording and write that down because I think it's a good mantra. One question, and maybe this is just some me searching for some coaching because I know my tendency is, you get that no, you get that feedback, and you're just like, all right, here's the positive feedback, great. Here's my gap. I sometimes have the challenge of trying to rush to solve that gap. So if someone says, hey, your team's not big enough or you need this type of specialty to serve, as you're running your business with your team, have you guys found yourselves trying to rush to solve a gap? And like, how do you manage that? How do you decide that is a smart decision, or are we just being too reactive and not seeing an opportunity to be patient and kind of let things grow?
I mean, to your mention, as you mentioned, like as a business owner, you're always somewhat reactive when you're when you're chasing money. Because everybody's always chasing money, chasing new business, right?
Yeah.
And I would say, to an extent, we've never really focused on doing that. But I think it goes back to what you were saying in terms of reflecting. It's like, okay, I'll give you a direct example. So one of the things we have, so a lot of times within the African American space, like you have like the same basic media platforms. So you have your big five, which are Ebony, Essence, BET, um, Revolt, and Radio One, right? Those are your main five, right?
Yeah.
But then you also have your not Revolt, Blavity, excuse me, Blavity and Urban One, Blavity and Urban One. But then you also have Blavity, you have Revolt, you have Madame Noir, you have Griot. The difference, all those are platforms. So that there's content that can kind of live on those platforms. And then what you have then is what they call the culturally adjacent platforms. So those are your complexes, your ESPNs, your hype beasts, your high somebodies, that even CNN, that over index heavily to Black and brown consumers, but they're not Black and brown media entities, right?
Right.
So a lot of times what we were facing before was, okay, your content is strong, your messaging is strong, but like, where's the reach? Like basically, where's your distribution model? Because you guys you're not a Blavity where you're getting 40 million unique visitors to your website a month across your off Blavity. You're not an Essence to where you have, you know, 100 million visitors and like 500 million visitors on a monthly basis. You're not a BET where you have a large network platform.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so to your point, do we take a step back? Like, well, do we try to become ourselves a content publisher ourselves and do content and try to find freelance? We were like, no, that's not really what we can do.
Mm.
So our pivot to that was then, you know what? Let's find distribution partners that would align with us. So then from that, now we have distribution partnership deals with Revolt. We have one with Reach TV. We have one with Players TV. We have one with the Shade Room, to where if X brand wanted to pay us to promote content, I can reach out to all four of those properties, say, hey, I'm working on this proposal. This is my strategy. Based off of this dollar allocated amount, what level of impressions is distributed? Now we still create the content, but now it's distributed across your platform. So I'm getting that reach. So that's an alternative. So it's like, to your point, it's addressing the concern and feedback that they provided us with, but it's doing it in a way that still allows us to maintain our core competency as a business, which
Yeah.
is telling stories in terms of creating that kind of content and not being another content publisher out there, because transparently, we're never going to win in that space because those platforms are already big. I said we would never, but like, that is a tougher lane for us to get in. Whereas also it's like, why don't we find strategic ways to be more efficient within that process? So
Yeah. No, I appreciate that example. That's very real. Finding the partnerships that help fill those gaps rather than feeling like you got to take on that burden of all of a sudden, okay, guys, now we're going to become the next BET.
right.
Done. Like, and that'll be very challenging. No, I love that example. All right, so let's hit some of these concluding questions, and this is one of my favorite ones. What misconceptions did you have about entrepreneurship before you became an entrepreneur?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, this is a hot take. Um, that Black gatekeepers didn't exist, because they 100% do.
Interesting. Say more.
Um, so it's kind of going back to what we we're saying in terms of, as you're doing partnerships, what you